Hi, Stella, Max, and Leo. It's Abuelita, and it's story time. So pull up a seat, sit on the couch, sit on a cushion, sit on the floor, crisscross applesauce, however you want, and let's get ready to hear a story about a little girl who was very curious. Her name is Ada Twist, scientist. When a little girl or a little boy is curious, we say that they are inquisitive. It means they ask a lot of questions. Are you inquisitive? Do you ask a lot of questions? Am I inquisitive? Am I asking you a lot of questions? Well, sure. So let's hear about Ada Twist. If you have the book, which I think you do, maybe you could read along, because that's a fun way to listen to a story, right? Okay, so I hope you have the book in front of you. You can listen to this again with the book in front of you and read along. Okay, here we go. Ada Marie said not a word till the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world, but not making a sound. She learned how to climb and make her big break with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day, chasing each sound in sight, and didn't slow down till she conked out at night. Here's a picture of her. Can you see? Where is she? She's up on top of the dresser, isn't she? Sleeping. Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly, young Ada, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. That's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree and climbed up the clock as high as she could. Her parents yelled, "Stop!" as all good parents would. Ada's chin quivered, but she tried not to cry. She took a deep breath and simply asked, "Why?" Why does it tick and why does it talk? Why don't we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? Why are there hairs up inside of your nose? She started with why, and then what, how, and when. By bedtime, she came back to why once again. She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child. She wanted to know what the world was about. They kissed her and whispered, "You'll figure it out." So here she is wanting to know why and how and when. Her parents kept up with their high-flying kid, whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. Even Miss Greer found her hands were quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear about Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. See, and there's Miss Greer looking very frazzled too. Ada was busy that first day of spring, testing the sounds that make mockingbirds sing, when a horrible stench whacked her right in the nose, a pungent aroma that curled up her toes. "Zowie," said Ada, which got her to thinking, what is the source of that terrible stinking? How does a nose know there's something to smell? And does it still stink if there's no nose to tell? She rattled off questions and tapped on her chin. She'd start at the start where she ought to begin. A mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. This was the moment that Ada loved best. Ada did research to learn all she could of smelling and smells, both the stinky and good. One hypothesis Ada thought could be true The terrible stink came from Dad's cabbage stew. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew it was time to come up with hypothesis too. And we'll talk later about what's a hypothesis, because I'm sure you want to know what that means. Then zowie, the stink struck again, just like that. Hypothesis 2, it's caused by the cat. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume and some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested. The test was a flop. She started again, but her parents yelled, "Stop!" So there she is, testing her hypothesis about whether the stink comes from the cat. And there she is when her parents say, "Stop!" Do your parents ever say, "Stop"? I know mine did. Ada Marie, to the thinking chair now by the time we count 3. Enough, said her mother. That's it, said her dad. Her parents were frustrated, frazzled, and mad. Why? Ada questioned. Her mother said, "No." What? Ada queried. Her father said, "Go. You've ruined our supper. You've made the cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now sit there and think." She looked at her parents. Her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. And here are her angry parents. And there she is being sent off to the thinking chair, which is like time out, I guess. She sat all alone by herself in the hall, and Ada once more could say nothing at all. And so Ada sat, and she sat, and she sat. And she thought about science and Stu and the cat, and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is that part of success? Are messes a problem? And while she was thinking, what was the source of that terrible stinking? Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question, and then she asked 2. And each of those led her to 3 questions more. And some of those questions resulted in 4. As Ada got thinking, she really dug in. She scribbled her questions and tapped on her chin. She started at why, and then what, how, and when. At the end of the hall, she reached why once again. And we do not advocate writing on the wall, but there she is doing just that. Her parents calmed down and they came back to talk. They looked at the hallway and just had to gawk. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the wall. The thinking chair now was the great thinking hall. They watched their young daughter and sighed as they did. What would they do with this curious kid who wanted to know what the world was about? They smiled and whispered, "We'll figure it out." And that's what they did, because that's what you do when your kid has a passion and heart that is true. They remade their world, and now they're all in the act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asks lots of questions. How could she resist? It's all in the heart of a young scientist. And as for that smell, what can Ada Twist do but learn all she can with her friends in grade 2? Will they discover the stink that curls toes? Well, that is the question. And someday, who knows? And that is the end. So I hope you liked Ada Twist. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what is a hypothesis. Can you say hypothesis? Let's say it together. Hypothesis. That's a fun word to say. Let's say it again. Hypothesis. A hypothesis is a question that a scientist starts out with when they think that something might be true. It's kind of like an idea that they formulate by saying, I don't know, this might be so. Let's test it out. So that's what a hypothesis is. And that's the end of our story time for today. I'm going to keep recording these. I hope you enjoy them. And I hope you'll let me know in a little Marco Polo video if you like Ada Twist, Scientist. Take care, folks. Mwah. Bye.